Is he this gangster that behind the scenes is that him? Or is that people
Shout out to Wendy Williams.
But tell me, man, why do you believe that Jay and Puffy is close, even though Jay's lawyer came out and said they're not?
Because Jay-Z and Puff was given an assignment.
Shakur. The name alone is enough to make the internet collapse under its own weight, but this week the shockwaves have been nuclear. For nearly 30 years, the world believed him gone, a victim of a drive-by on the Vegas Strip, a martyr of the East Coast-West Coast war. And yet, suddenly, social media is on fire with one story. Shakur has resurfaced. Not just spotted in Havana with a cigar, not just another blurry nightclub photo. This time, the claim is that he has returned, alive, furious, and ready to destroy the twin empires of Jay-Z and Diddy. Hashtags like Shakur exposes Jay-Z and Diddy panics aren't just trending, they're dominating the feed, outpacing even election scandals and celebrity divorces. The question everyone is asking is brutal in its simplicity. Could this be the most explosive comeback in music history?
And that was to destroy East Coast rap. And what I mean by that, and I know people gonna be like, yo, Gene is out of his mind and everything like that. Check this out, brother.
We watch the chaos unfold online. A wave of shaky videos, alleged sightings, and grainy screenshots of a man who looks uncannily like Shakur strolling through Havana. Old conspiracy clips are resurfacing, bodyguard confessions are being dissected, and one phrase keeps ricocheting. He didn't just come back to rap, he came back for revenge. Fans who grew up on Machiavelli are whispering that his disappearance was never a tragedy, but a strategy. A calculated exile to Cuba, protected by political allies, gathering evidence against his enemies. For years, there were hints. A coroner's report that didn't match his height, a cremator who vanished right after the supposed cremation, Suge Knight insisting Shakur not gone. Now, the rumor is that Shakur's nearly 3-decade silence is about to be shattered, and the first thing breaking is Jay-Z and Diddy's carefully built legacies. The whispers are laced with venom. Shakur's alleged fatality memoir has been spoken of like a forbidden manuscript, a ticking time bomb locked away in Cuban vaults. Industry insiders murmur it names names, spills conspiracies, details betrayals, even points fingers at the people who profited from his disappearance. If that manuscript is real, then it doesn't just crack open history, it detonates it. We're hearing it doesn't just mention executives and rivals, but lays out in painstaking detail who played what role on that fateful night in Vegas and in the fallout afterward. The tension is unbearable. What's inside this memoir? And why are Jay-Z and Diddy, two of hip-hop's most untouchable moguls, suddenly desperate to keep it buried?
I can't wait. I can't wait for everybody to find out what's really been going on in the background.
And then comes the second bombshell, one darker than any unpublished manuscript. The talk of secret recordings, hidden tapes Shakur made before 1996, has been bubbling for years. Now the rumor is deafening. These aren't freestyle demos or unfinished verses. These are allegedly private conversations where Jay-Z and Diddy were caught on tape admitting to corruption, to orchestrated violence, to cover-ups that would make Watergate look like a schoolyard prank. If those tapes exist and if they surface, then everything they've built, the billion-dollar brands, the sports agencies, the streaming empires, could dissolve overnight. Imagine Jay-Z, the former street hustler who once said to be in a deal you need to know what you can spend, what you need to re-up, suddenly hearing his own voice from decades past echo through courtrooms and news broadcasts. Imagine Diddy, already drowning in court filings and headlines, being tied not just to lurid parties, but to the original sin of hip-hop's most haunting mystery. The timing is brutal. Jay-Z's carefully curated transformation from crack-slinging teenager in Brooklyn's Marcy Projects to chief visionary officer of a luxury green empire is being torn apart. The man who solemnly announced his herbal wellness startup as a venture defined by dignity, care, and consistency may find his old past dragged back into the spotlight, not as a tale of redemption, but as evidence of a long career greased with underhanded moves. And it isn't only the business critics sharpening knives. 50 Cent, always eager to pour gasoline on the fire, mocked Jay-Z's loyalty to Diddy, posting, "Friends to the end, Jay, are you still there?" while referencing explosions and intimidation tactics. Social media ate it up. A reminder that friendship with Diddy is looking less like loyalty and more like liability.
So that's just competitive.
Competitiveness.
All right, so you and Diddy, you and Puff cool?
No, I don't really rock with him.
Okay,
like
damn, all right. I didn't know what that meant.
Okay.
All right, okay.
Meanwhile, Diddy's empire is collapsing under its own weight. Once the man who called the shots at Bad Boy Records, he is now the man called out in federal indictments, accused of running what prosecutors describe as a criminal enterprise, charged with racketeering, trafficking, and coercion, facing the kind of testimony that makes even courtroom veterans flinch. And the cases only grow uglier. One key witness disappears, another hesitates, but still the storm clouds thicken. Lawyers whisper of settlements, of NDAs worth millions. of hidden footage from those infamous freak-offs. And now, layered on top of it all, is Shakur's supposed resurrection, pointing an accusing finger from beyond the shadows. If prosecutors already compared Diddy's world to Jeffrey Epstein's, what happens when Shakur, himself, is rumored to have kept tapes proving Diddy's hand in violence cover-ups and worse?
And then what's the stuff that's happening with Wendy Williams? You think this is all connection too?
Of course.
The conspiracies intertwine in a way that makes the industry shake. Some TikTok theorists have gone further, linking Jay-Z, Diddy, and even Beyonce to a chilling pattern. The demises of Aaliyah, Left Eye, Michael Jackson, all on the 25th of different months. Is it coincidence or coded ritual? Theories spin wild that Beyonce's worship-like adoration at award shows, with Adele breaking trophies in her honor, is not mere fandom but allegiance to a secretive network. Evidence is flimsy, but the virality is undeniable. And when you combine that with whispers of Shakur's tapes, suddenly the unthinkable feels plausible. After all, if Shakur faked his own exit, survived Cuba under Castro's watch, and is now prepared to leak secrets, then who's to say the rest of the puzzle pieces aren't connected? And the tension climbs higher with every leaked document. In one covertly recorded police interview, Diddy's name was mentioned 47 times in relation to Shakur's. 1996 drive-by, Keefe, the Southside Crip now awaiting trial, claimed Diddy once offered millions for the heads of both Shakur and Suge Knight. The story was dismissed as fiction for years, but as prosecutors quietly liaise between Diddy's trafficking case and Shakur's unsolved shooting, the dots start to connect in chilling ways. It doesn't matter if the full truth is never proven in court. The court of public opinion is already deliberating, and it doesn't like what it sees.
I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their...
We are left staring at an industry where the walls are caving in. Jay-Z, who once admitted to Vanity Fair that he sold crack in order to buy clothes and survive, now fights off accusations of much darker past deeds. Diddy, who built an empire on glossy luxury drink commercials and Ciroc-fueled parties, now faces a future that legal experts warn could mean life in prison. And above them both, like a ghost who refused to stay buried, is Shakur, whether flesh and blood or myth made manifest, threatening to topple everything with memoirs, tapes, and truths no one wants out. Is Shakur back to settle the ultimate score, and will the music industry survive the fallout? Why would Shakur vanish in the first place? For years, the official story was that his fate was sealed on the Vegas Strip, but those who've tracked the trail insist that the so-called ending was nothing more than camouflage. The whispers claim powerful figures wanted him gone, and the only way out was to fake the exit and slip into the shadows. Former security operatives have told tales of late-night flights to the Caribbean, of Castro himself offering sanctuary in Havana, of body doubles used to seal the illusion. If that is true, then Shakur didn't just survive. He staged the longest and most dangerous play in music history, all because a hit had been ordered by men who feared what he knew. Was his disappearance a desperate act of self-preservation, or the opening move in a war that's only now reaching its climax?
A lot of potential. Jay was more quiet. But I mean, I learned that Jay was being quiet because he was taking notes. He was taking notes, observing everything, taking it all in. Because, sometimes you're around and you're watching to see things to do. But some people are around.
The focus sharpens on the rivalry that once split hip-hop in two. Everyone remembers Shakur versus Biggie, the East Coast versus the West Coast, but hidden beneath the headlines was another rivalry, one that now looks very different. Jay-Z was a young Brooklyn hustler then, selling tapes out of trunks, stepping into the industry just as Shakur was at his peak. Within months of Shakur's supposed passing, Jay-Z's career began its unstoppable climb. He was the protege who suddenly had a clear runway. His debut album dropped in 1996, the same year Shakur vanished. And within a decade, Jay-Z wasn't just rapping, he was building an empire. So we have to ask, was Shakur's fall the ultimate chess move, clearing the board for Jay-Z's rise? Or was it simply luck, a cruel twist of timing that put one man in the ground and another on top? We cannot ignore that Jay-Z himself has been candid about his past. He once said, "To be in a deal, you need to know what you can spend, what you need to re-up. At some point, you have to have an exit strategy." He was talking about hustling on the streets, but could the same philosophy have shaped his ascent in the industry? To some conspiracy theorists, that quote sounds like more than a metaphor. It sounds like the mindset of someone who knew the streets weren't the only battlefield. And when we consider the timing, the feuds, and the silence that followed Shakur's disappearance, it begins to feel like too many puzzle pieces snapping together in the dark.
I don't think they are scared of him. I think they more so, they don't want him to embarrass their reputation and things that they've been known for. You understand?
Fast forward to now, and the man once hailed as hip-hop's eternal showman, Diddy, is unraveling in front of us. The mogul who built Bad Boy into a cultural machine is now in federal custody, accused of orchestrating parties fueled by coercion, manipulation, and control. Prosecutors claim he turned his label into a criminal enterprise. His trial has already revealed missing witnesses, sealed NDAs, and lurid recordings seized from raids. He faces charges that could bring him a lifetime behind bars. In this fragile state, the last thing he needs is a ghost from his past, especially one with proof that he played a role in taking Shakur out of the picture. We see the signs of panic everywhere. His social feeds have gone quiet, his once boastful presence shrinking into silence. Behind the scenes, his legal teams are filing desperate motions, trying to dismiss allegations, sanction opposing lawyers, drown claims in paperwork. But the desperation leaks through. When 50 Cent mocks him online, when artists whisper that alliances with Diddy are now poison, we sense the empire crumbling. And if Shakur really has resurfaced with memoirs and tapes, then Diddy's problems have multiplied beyond the courtroom. The timing couldn't be worse, the past colliding with the present, the rumors sharpening into accusations that could bury him once and for all.
Continue to engage in all these freak-offs with him, and he sounds really pissed off.
Hey, I really don't know what's going on with you, but I just want to just give you a heads up that I'm about to really disappear on you. You feel me? I'm not going to be playing these games with you at all, at all. So I don't know, you think you silent treating me, and you think I'm going to be, nah. You'll have a rude awakening.
Think about the irony. Diddy has been linked in police files and documentaries to Shakur's Vegas shooting before. Accused by insiders of offering millions for the job, he dismissed it all as fantasy. But now, with Shakur allegedly alive and preparing to speak, those accusations feel less like gossip and more like prophecy. Federal agents raided his mansions and seized evidence that already painted him as a predator. If Shakur steps forward with proof of deeper crimes, connections to that night in 1996 to cover-ups that reshaped the industry, then Diddy doesn't just lose his empire, he becomes the villain in the most infamous unsolved story in music. The stakes are higher than personal feuds now. If Shakur truly has memoirs and tapes implicating Jay-Z and Diddy, then the fallout won't stop with them. It pulls at the threads of an entire system, record labels, executives, even global icons tied by friendship and business. TikTok theories already connect Beyoncé to suspicious patterns, pointing to the eerie dates of Aaliyah, Left Eye, and Michael Jackson's departures. To the mainstream, it's coincidence. To the conspiracists, it's a sign of a machine willing to sacrifice anyone to protect its chosen few. And if Shakur is back to expose the machine, then every superstar who built their career in that shadow suddenly looks vulnerable.
That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once go fluid,
we must consider the possibility that this isn't just about revenge. Shakur was always more than an artist. He was a thinker, a strategist, a man who studied Machiavelli and understood the power of illusion. Maybe faking his passing wasn't just to save his life, but to give him the distance to return when the time was right. Maybe this is about pulling the curtain back on an entire culture of secrecy, showing fans that the stories we were sold about rivalry, about glory, about who deserved to be king, were nothing more than lies, crafted in boardrooms and sealed with silence. If this theory holds weight, then Shakur's reappearance is not merely the return of a legendary rapper, but the ignition of a revolution against an industry long accused of preying on its own stars. For decades, whispers of unfair contracts, stolen royalties, and manipulated careers have haunted hip-hop and R&B, with countless artists speaking about being chewed up and discarded by the very machine that promised them stardom. Shakur, who was outspoken about corruption even at the height of his fame, may now be positioning himself as the figure willing to tear the system apart from the inside. His survival would make him not just a symbol of resilience, but of rebellion.
Did Phil explain why he's speaking out now?
He said he's speaking out because he believes Diddy's a predator. He wants accountability, and he doesn't want someone like this to run unchecked in the future.
The exploitation of artists is nothing new, and hip-hop has seen its share of careers derailed by shadowy deals and manipulative executives. Young talents often sign contracts they barely understand, lured by upfront advances, but locked into long-term commitments that funnel the bulk of profits upward while leaving them with scraps. Entire catalogs have been sold off without consent, while artists who dared to speak out were quietly blacklisted. Shakur warned of this dynamic in his lyrics and interviews, calling out a culture of control. If he has truly returned with evidence, it could validate the suspicions of generations of musicians who felt trapped but powerless to challenge the hierarchy. This mission would also explain why Shakur allegedly went underground for so long. Beyond saving himself from immediate danger, hiding in Cuba or elsewhere could have given him decades to gather intelligence, document patterns, and connect the dots between different eras of industry corruption. Imagine the weight of 3 decades of files, testimonies, and recordings, all pointing to an empire built on exploitation. Such material would not just topple individual moguls, but potentially force scrutiny of the entire recording industry, from major labels to streaming platforms. The very infrastructure of how music is produced, distributed, and monetized could be at risk.
I mean, to each their own, and why would they not have when they're rappers?
There's also a generational layer to consider. Today's artists are louder about independence, forming their own labels, fighting for ownership of masters, and demanding transparency in contracts. Many have turned to social media to bypass gatekeepers entirely. If Shakur emerges now, aligning himself with this movement, he becomes more than a survivor, he becomes the ultimate revolutionary elder, lending credibility and urgency to a battle that younger artists are already waging. His presence could unite a fragmented resistance, transforming scattered protests into a coordinated rebellion against the very machine that silenced so many before. In this light, the story is bigger than revenge or even justice for one man. It becomes a clash between an entrenched system of wealth and secrecy and the voices of creators demanding freedom. Shakur's alleged return could serve as the rallying cry, the spark that ignites a cultural reckoning not seen since the civil rights era's entanglement with music. If that is the true purpose behind his comeback, then what lies ahead isn't just scandal, it's revolution. And the world will have to decide whether it is ready for the music industry's deepest truths to finally be dragged into the light.
After they are done with Diddy, Jay-Z is up next to be exposed, right?
And so we stand at the edge of something that feels bigger than any scandal of the past. Jay-Z, the billionaire mogul, could be forced to answer questions about what doors opened in the late 90s and why. Diddy, already facing the fight of his life in court, could see his empire obliterated by the reappearance of the one man he most feared. And Shakur, if this really is him, could hold in his hands the power to burn the entire system down. What if this isn't just a comeback story? What if this is the reckoning hip-hop never wanted, but always deserved? So we leave you with the question, if Shakur is truly back, is he here to settle old scores or to expose an industry built on betrayal, secrecy, and blood? Let us know what you believe in the comments below, because this story is far from over. Until next time, stay sharp, stay curious, and remember, truth has a way of coming out when we least expect it.